Hello, Taurus. I am Luna Ray. I know you value peace, consistency, and the quiet strength of things that endure. So what I'm about to share with you might stir something deep and uncomfortable. But I want you to stay with me because what's coming at the end of June 2025 is not just another date on the calendar. It's a moment of inner reckoning. And I'm not here to alarm you. I'm here to help you navigate what could be one of the most quietly transformative thresholds of your life. This isn't a dramatic prediction or some chaotic upheaval from the outside. It's more subtle than that, more personal, more internal. You may not even realize it's happening until the ground you've been standing on suddenly no longer feels solid beneath your feet. Because for years, Taurus, you've been building a life rooted in stability. You've held tight to what feels safe, consistent, and proven, believing that if you work hard and remain patient, life will reward you. And in many ways it has. You've created something admirable, something steady, but now something deeper inside of you is beginning to shift. There's a quiet pressure building beneath the surface, something that doesn't want to be ignored anymore. On the last day of June, that internal fault line may crack just enough to show you what you've been suppressing. The truth that safety alone is no longer enough, that the comfort you've been clinging to might be preventing something more alive, more honest, more aligned from emerging. I know this challenges your core beliefs. I know how hard you've worked to keep everything in place, but sometimes, Taurus, the very structures we build to protect ourselves are the same ones that begin to limit us when we've outgrown them. So if you've been feeling unsettled lately, even in the midst of routines that once brought you peace, this is why. And I want you to know you're not doing anything wrong, but you are being invited into a deeper kind of truth. One that requires letting go of the illusion that security is the same as fulfillment. This is your soul asking for more. And the moment you stop resisting that call, everything starts to change. Stay with me. Let's walk through this together. Let's talk about what lies beneath the surface, Taurus. Because while your outer life may look solid, your job dependable, your relationships longstanding, your finances carefully managed, there's another reality quietly unfolding within you, and it's the part no one else sees. The part even you try not to look at too closely. It's that subtle, persistent emptiness. That low hum of dissatisfaction that whispers late at night when the noise dies down and you're left alone with yourself. You've built your life on discipline and practicality. You've chosen what's reasonable, what's reliable, what won't collapse in the face of change. And for a time, that was exactly what you needed. But in the process of keeping things steady, something inside you, something wild, alive, and deeply personal has gone unnourished. You've exchanged your inner spark for outer peace. And while that trade may have protected you from chaos, it's also distanced you from joy. Now your soul is starting to stir. It's restless, Taurus. Not because you're ungrateful, but because something fundamental is missing. You're not here just to survive the storm. You're here to feel the wind on your skin, to live fully. But that aliveness can't reach you when you're locked in the same predictable rhythm every day. And the further you go trying to convince yourself that this is fine, the louder that quiet ache becomes. June 30th won't bring a dramatic collapse, but it may bring a moment of clarity so sharp it cuts through all your well-practiced calm. It will show you that the stability you've been clinging to is no longer aligned with who you're becoming. And in that moment, it won't be easy to accept what you see because it means admitting that what once served you is now keeping you small. And that's never easy for someone who's worked so hard to create peace. But that's exactly what this transformation is about, moving from peace that numbs to peace that awakens. So if you're already feeling the discomfort, the fatigue, the growing question of, is this really it? You're not imagining things. You're beginning to outgrow your old life, and what's coming next requires honesty with yourself first and foremost. There's something you've held on to for a long time, not because it truly nourishes you, but because it's familiar. Maybe it's a role you play in your family, a job you've mastered but no longer love, or a relationship that's more about history than heart. Whatever it is, it's given you a sense of identity, a place to stand, and letting it go feels unthinkable. But Taurus, you already feel it shifting. There's a slow unraveling happening beneath the surface. You may not have the words for it yet, but it's real. And on June 30th, that illusion you've been maintaining, the one that says, this is enough. This is who I am. This is what stability looks like, will begin to dissolve. Not in a way that shatters everything all at once, but in a way that reveals how little of your life is actually rooted in your deeper truth. The hard part is you've built so much on top of this illusion that letting it fall apart can feel like losing your whole foundation. But here's the deeper truth, Taurus. The structure you've created is only part of the story. And you've known, even if only faintly, that some of it was never truly you. Some of it was survival. Some of it was inherited. Some of it was compromise. And while there's no shame in any of that, none at all, it's time now to question whether continuing down this path is still an act of devotion or just quiet resignation. On the surface, nothing dramatic may happen, but something inside of you will break open. Maybe you'll wake up and realize you can't keep pretending you're satisfied. Maybe something you used to tolerate will suddenly feel unbearable, or maybe you'll find yourself weeping over something you used to ignore. However it shows up, don't dismiss it. These are not breakdowns, they are breakthroughs in disguise. Letting the illusion collapse is painful, yes, but it's also a sacred moment of realignment. Because when you finally stop forcing yourself to stay in places that no longer honor your soul, you begin to return home to yourself. And that's where the real grounding begins. Not in what you've built, but in who you've become. Now that the illusion has begun to unravel, Taurus, you are standing at a quiet crossroads. And unlike the dramatic decisions others might face, yours is more subtle, but just as life-defining. This isn't about making a grand gesture or flipping your entire world upside down overnight. It's about something far more intimate, choosing truth over habit, choosing aliveness over predictability, choosing the path that awakens your spirit, even if it unsettles your plans. You see, for a long time, you've moved through life asking, what will keep me safe? What will last? What can I depend on? These questions served you when you needed protection, but now the question is shifting. Now the invitation is to ask, what makes me feel truly alive? What calls to me beneath the surface? What am I willing to risk in order to feel whole again? On June 30th, life may present you with a moment, small or large, where you'll be asked to choose. It could be a conversation you've been avoiding, a truth you've been suppressing, a boundary you've delayed setting. And in that moment, Taurus, you will feel both fear and clarity. The fear comes from your old self, the one that values control, comfort, and constancy. But the clarity, that belongs to your soul. And here's the hard truth you may not want to admit yet. Staying where you are has a cost, too. There's a price to pay for silence, for self-denial, for squeezing yourself into a version of life that no longer fits. The longer you ignore the discomfort, the deeper it settles into your body, becoming fatigued, resentment, even physical tension. So this new choice isn't just about some distant ideal future. It's about your well-being now. This is the moment when you ask yourself, do I want to preserve the illusion or do I want to live in truth? Am I willing to disappoint others if it means no longer disappointing myself? Can I be brave enough to let go of what I've outgrown, even if I don't yet know what will take its place? This is where everything begins to shift, not because you've changed overnight, but because you finally decided to stop abandoning yourself for the sake of appearances. And when you make that inner choice, no matter how quietly, it echoes through your entire life. Taurus, what you're about to uncover isn't a new version of yourself. It's the real one that's been patiently waiting beneath the surface all along. You've always associated strength with holding things together, being dependable, being solid, being the one who doesn't flinch or falter when life gets hard. And yes, that kind of strength has carried you far, but now you're being asked to discover a deeper, quieter strength, one that doesn't come from control, but from truth. Because the kind of strength you're stepping into now isn't about keeping the peace at any cost. It's about honoring your inner landscape, even if it disturbs the outer one. It's about knowing when to stay and when to walk away. It's about feeling everything instead of numbing what doesn't fit the plan. And it's about recognizing that vulnerability doesn't weaken you. It roots you. It connects you. It makes you whole. When you stop pretending to be fine, when you let the mask fall, you'll begin to sense something profound underneath, the quiet power of authenticity. Not the power that demands to be seen, but the one that radiates naturally from presence. This is the kind of magnetism that doesn't need to impress. It simply is. And when you live from that space, Taurus, people feel it. They trust you, not because you're flawless, but because you're real. You'll begin to realize that your softness is not a weakness. It's part of your strength. That your longing for beauty, comfort, and meaning isn't indulgent. It's sacred. That your ability to endure isn't just about surviving storms. It's about carrying wisdom through them and still believing in what's tender on the other side. This chapter of your journey isn't about becoming harder. It's about becoming truer, strong in a way that doesn't require armor, rooted in a way that no longer needs to resist change, and grounded in self-worth that doesn't come from what you own, fix, or control, but from who you are when nothing is left to prove. This is your real power, Taurus, and it's rising now, gently, steadily, unshakably. And now, Taurus, we arrive at the turning point, the quiet liberation that begins not with fireworks or applause, but with a single moment of peace inside your chest. When you finally stop resisting what your soul has been whispering, when you release the weight of the performance, something breaks open. And in that opening, there is room for you to breathe fully, honestly, for the first time in a long while. This liberation isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't need to be proven. It feels more like a homecoming. You look around at the life you've so carefully maintained and you'll realize some of it can stay, but some of it must go. And that decision, while painful, is also the beginning of deep self-respect. Because when you let go of the roles, routines, and relationships that no longer reflect your truth, you make space for a life that actually does. After June 30th, you may find yourself quietly walking away from the things you once swore you needed, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. You'll begin gravitating toward different people, different spaces, different ways of moving through the world. You'll notice which interactions leave you feeling dry and which ones nourish you like water in the roots. You'll stop asking, is this enough to hold on to? And start asking, is this aligned with who I'm becoming? This shift changes everything, not because the world around you forces it, but because your own inner compass is finally free to guide you. You're no longer building a life out of fear of loss. You're planting it from the soil of self-trust. And from that place, Taurus, everything that grows will be sweeter, truer, more sustainable. You'll begin to realize that the safety you were chasing outside of yourself is something you can now create from yourself. There will still be moments of doubt. There may be grief for the version of you that did what they could to survive. But now you are choosing more than survival. You are choosing to live from your essence, to lead with softness, to walk forward, not as the person others expect you to be, but as the person you were always meant to become. That is liberation. That is your rebirth. And it begins right now. So Taurus, if you've been feeling that quiet unrest, if you've been sensing that something within you is shifting, even though nothing outside has changed, trust it. That feeling is your guide. It's not here to dismantle you. It's here to return you to yourself. The end of June isn't the end of your foundation. It's the beginning of a deeper one that's not built just on comfort or control, but on clarity, on honesty, on inner alignment. You don't have to rush. You don't have to force, but you do have to listen and begin to honor what you hear. Let this next chapter be one where you stop holding everything together for the sake of appearances and instead start holding space for what is real. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to release. You are allowed to want more because you, Taurus, are not here just to be steady. You are here to be whole, and your wholeness starts now.